I should have been working late. That was the plan. But fate had other ideas. A last-minute power outage at the office sent everyone home early, and I thought, why not surprise Emily? Maybe grab some takeout, a bottle of wine, and actually enjoy a night together. I pulled into the driveway, humming to myself, thinking about the way Emily used to greet me at the door with that perfect smile, before things changed. Before she got colder. Before she started looking at her phone like it held the secrets of the universe. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it. Something was off. The house smelled like perfume, but not Emily's usual vanilla scent. This was stronger, muskier. Then I heard it. Low, breathy moans. Not from the TV. Not from a bad attempt at yoga. These were real. Raw. Shameless. My heart slammed against my ribs. My fists clenched so hard my knuckles popped. No. No ***ing way, ***. I moved quietly, my military instincts kicking in. Step by step, I followed the sound down the hall, past our wedding photos, those now felt like a cruel joke, until I stood in front of the bedroom door. My bedroom door. I hesitated for half a second, then I heard his voice. Deep, cocky. Damn, babe. Your husband's clueless, huh? Emily giggled. She giggled. Oh, Kyle, he's so stupid. He barely even touches me anymore. It's pathetic. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I reached for my nightstand. The cold steel of my Glock felt reassuring in my hand. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I just pushed the door open. And there they were. Emily and some tattooed, smirking bastard, tangled up in my sheets, completely ignoring me. Kyle turned his head lazily and smirked. Oh, look who's home early. See, cuckold? We're doing your job, so shut the door and don't bother us. I pulled the trigger. The bullet tore through his groin, his arrogant smirk twisting into a scream of pure agony. He grabbed himself, blood staining the sheets. Emily shrieked, scrambling backward like a cornered animal. Jake. Oh my God, what the F********. Are you crazy? Kyle tried to crawl off the bed, but the pain kept him down. I cocked the gun again. The second guy, because of course, there was a second guy, bolted from the closet, stark naked, and dove out the window like a goddamn Olympic athlete. I barely even glanced at him. My focus was on her. Emily. My wife. The woman I'd loved, trusted, built a life with. She wasn't crying. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't even ashamed. She just sat there, half-covered, lips parted, looking at me like I was the problem. And that's when I knew. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time slip-up. This was who she really was. And I was about to show her who I really was, too. The room felt too small, the air too thick. The only sounds were Kyle's whimpering and Emily's heavy breathing. My grip on the gun was firm, steady. The man in front of me was bleeding out, and my wife, the woman I had sacrificed for, bled for, built a life around, was sitting there with the audacity to look annoyed. Not scared. Not ashamed. Just, annoyed. I expected pleading. I expected tears, apologies, desperate justifications. Instead, she sighed, ran a hand through her messy blonde hair, and muttered, Jesus, Jake. Always so dramatic. My vision blurred red. Kyle let out another pained groan, clutching his ruined groin, his body convulsing from the shock. Dude, F*******. I. Shut the hell up. My voice came out cold, controlled, unlike the storm raging inside me. Emily scoffed, crossing her arms. crossing her goddamn arms. Okay, so what now, big man? You gonna shoot me too? Go ahead, add murder to the list of ways you've ruined my life. Ruined her life? I had to laugh at that. A short, humorless sound that made Kyle flinch. Emily didn't. That's when I understood. She had no fear. No regret. Because she had never loved me to begin with. The memories hit me all at once, the subtle shifts in her behavior, the cold shoulder, the sudden need for girls' nights, the phone she kept glued to her hand. I had been blind, but my eyes were wide open now. I lowered the gun, but not because I was done. No. This wasn't over. Kyle whimpered like a wounded dog. Please, man. I didn't know she was married. She said you guys were separated. I let that sink in. I turned to Emily. That true? She rolled her eyes, as if I was the inconvenience here. Oh, come on, Jake. Like it even matters. Like it even, I inhaled sharply, my jaw tightening. You really are a piece of work. She shrugged. Shrugged. I mean, what did you expect? You've been boring for years. Always working, always playing the loyal husband act. Meanwhile, I was stuck in this dead marriage. What, you thought I was just gonna wait around, hoping you'd suddenly become interesting? Every word out of her mouth was gasoline on a fire I didn't even know was inside me. You could have left, I said, my voice dangerously calm. If you were so unhappy, you could have just left. She smirked. Yeah, and give up the house? The money? Please. You were useful. Useful. I'd spent the last 8 years building a future with this woman, and in return, she saw me as nothing more than a bank account with a pulse. Kyle, still on the floor, moaned in pain. Dude, just call an ambulance or something. Shut up. My eyes stayed locked on Emily's. You love him? She snorted. Love? God, no. He was just convenient. Even Kyle gave her a betrayed look at that. Convenient. Just like that, everything clicked into place. This wasn't heartbreak. This wasn't loss. This was freedom. A slow smile spread across my lips. Emily frowned, shifting on the bed. What? What's so funny? I slipped my phone from my pocket and pressed a button. The screen lit up, showing the entire conversation recorded. Her voice, crystal clear. You were useful. I mean, what did you expect? He was just convenient. Emily's face drained of color. You. Yeah, I said, still smiling. You should have kept your mouth shut. She lunged for the phone. I yanked it back effortlessly, stepping out of her reach. Her breathing turned frantic. Jake, delete that. Now. Why? I taunted. Afraid of losing the house? The money? She didn't even deny it. You wouldn't. I raised an eyebrow. Wouldn't I? For the first time all night, Emily looked scared. Good. I turned and walked out, leaving her screaming my name. Kyle groaned behind me, forgotten. I didn't care. I had bigger plans now. The monster she had created? It was awake now. And it was about to burn everything she loved to the ground. I walked out of the bedroom, my mind clearer than it had been in years. My heart wasn't racing anymore. My hands weren't shaking. I was done feeling. Emily had no idea what she had just unleashed. Behind me, she scrambled off the bed, her bare feet smacking against the hardwood as she chased after me. Jake! Jake! We need to talk about this. I kept walking. She grabbed my arm, nails digging in. Jake, listen to me. You can't just. I wrenched my arm free and turned so fast she stumbled back a step. I can't what, Emily? Leave? Oh, I promise you, I can. But I'm not walking away empty-handed. Her eyes flicked to my phone, the one still recording. She swallowed. You wouldn't ruin my life like that. I smirked. You were just convenient, right? Her nostrils flared. Fine. What do you want? You want me to beg? Cry? Is that it? Are we doing the angry betrayed husband routine now? She threw her arms up. God, Jake, stop being so dramatic. It was just some fun. You act like I murdered someone. Kyle groaned from the bedroom floor. I think I might be dying. Emily ignored him. I laughed. Actually laughed. You're unreal, you know that? You cheat on me, in our bed, with 2 guys, and now you want me to just, what? Get over it? Laugh it off? She scoffed. You always do this. Always turning things into a big deal. My fists clenched. Big deal? Oh, she had no idea just how big a deal this was about to become. I turned my back on her and walked straight to my home office. She followed, ranting the whole way. You want to leave? Fine. But you're not taking anything that's mine, Jake. That made me stop. Hers? I turned slowly, staring at her like she was a bug I was about to step on. You think this house is yours? I asked, voice dangerously soft. She crossed her arms. Of course, it's mine. Who do you think kept this place running while you were off playing businessman? I grinned. You mean the house I bought? The mortgage I paid? The bills I covered? She hesitated for half a second, then lifted her chin. Doesn't matter. We're married. Half of it is mine. I chuckled, shaking my head. See, that's where you're wrong. I unlocked my office door and stepped inside. She was right behind me, but when I grabbed a folder from my desk, she paused. What's that? She asked warily. I tossed it onto the desk. That, sweetheart, is a post-nuptial agreement. Signed. Notarized. Filed 6 months ago. Her face went pale. See, I had a feeling, I continued. You were getting sloppy. Staying out late, being too tired for me, treating your phone like it held the nuclear codes. So, I prepared. She snatched up the papers, eyes scanning them in disbelief. This is fake. It's real. And it states that if you cheat, you get nothing. Not the house. Not the car. Not a single goddamn penny. Her breathing turned ragged. You set me up. I grinned. No, baby. You set yourself up. She lost it then, screaming and throwing the folder across the room. You can't do this to me. I just smiled. Oh, I can. And I did. Then I turned, walked out the front door, and slammed it shut behind me. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. I stood in the driveway, inhaling the crisp night air, letting it cool the fire burning in my veins. Inside, Emily was still screaming. Good. Let her rage. I unlocked my car and slid into the driver's seat, phone still in my hand. I pulled up my contacts and scrolled to a familiar name. Detective Owens. I hit call. A gruff voice answered. Jake? Everything all right? Oh yeah, I said, a slow smile spreading. Better than ever, actually. A pause. Then, that's a first. What's going on? I glanced back at the house. I have a situation at my place. A guy broke in, got violent. Had to defend myself. Owens cursed under his breath. You okay? Me? I'm fine. Him? Not so much. *T. You need me to send a unit? Would appreciate it. I hung up and leaned back, feeling lighter than I had in years. 10 minutes later, flashing lights painted the neighborhood in red and blue. Cops swarmed my house. Emily ran outside in nothing but a robe, screaming about how I was the criminal. But Kyle? Oh, poor, bleeding Kyle. He was a trespasser. And the moment he admitted that Emily had told him I was separated, his fate was sealed. The cops arrested him. Emily screamed at them. She screamed at me. But it didn't matter. She had lost everything. As the red and blue lights flashed against the walls of my house, no, my house, not hers anymore, I watched Emily unravel like a cheap sweater. She was screaming at the cops, at Kyle, at me, her face twisted with pure rage. It was beautiful. Kyle, still half-conscious and writhing in pain from the shot to his groin, was trying to plead his case to the officers. Man, I wasn't breaking in. She invited me. She said her husband was gone. A young cop, probably fresh out of the academy, shook his head. Sir, that doesn't change the fact that you were found naked and injured in another man's home. And the homeowner claims self-defense. Kyle looked at Emily in desperation. Babe, tell them. Tell them I was invited. Babe. Emily's head snapped toward him so fast I thought she might get whiplash. Her lip curled in disgust. You think I'm gonna take the fall for you? She hissed. Kyle blinked. Wait. You're nothing, she spat. A dumb F*** I was using. And now you're useless. Even the officers exchanged looks at that one. Kyle's face crumbled, a mix of pain, betrayal, and shock. But I was grinning. Because there it was, the moment her entire world collapsed. The cops weren't stupid. They saw right through her. One officer pulled out a breathalyzer and held it toward Kyle. Had anything to drink tonight? Kyle hesitated, then shook his head. No, man, blow. Kyle obeyed. The machine beeped, and the officer checked the results. His lips twitched upward. Well. Looks like you're over the legal limit. Kyle's face paled. Oh, come on, man. I wasn't even driving. The officer shrugged. Public intoxication. And considering the circumstances, I'd say you're lucky that's all you're getting charged with. The cuffs clicked around Kyle's wrists. Emily looked like she was about to explode. You can't do this, she shrieked, grabbing the officer's arm. The cop turned, calm as ever. Ma'am, if you don't step back, we can add obstruction of justice to the list. She let go immediately. I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. The grand finale. Once Kyle was hauled off in the back of a squad car, Emily turned on me, her eyes blazing with pure, undiluted hatred. You think you won, don't you? She snarled. I tilted my head. I don't think, Emily. I know. She let out a dry, humorless laugh. You're pathetic. You're not a real man. Real men handle their SHT without running to the cops like a little BTCH. I stepped closer, lowering my voice just for her. A real man doesn't let his wife make a fool out of him either. And trust me, sweetheart, I am done being your fool. She clenched her fists. I'll get a lawyer. I'll take everything from you. I smirked. Yeah? With what money? Her jaw tightened. You don't have access to our accounts anymore, I continued. I had the joint accounts locked the moment I walked out that door. Your credit cards? Declined. Your savings? Frozen. You have nothing, Emily. Nothing. Her face went from rage to panic in an instant. You wouldn't. I already did. Her lips trembled, but I wasn't done. You want to know the best part? I leaned in just enough to see the fear flicker in her eyes. I recorded everything. Every single word. And I sent it to your parents. She sucked in a sharp breath. You're lying. I pulled up my messages and showed her the read receipt from her mother. She saw it 10 minutes ago. Wonder how that conversation's going. Her face crumpled. Perfect. I stepped back, running a hand through my hair. So here's what's gonna happen, Emily. You're gonna pack your sh*T and get the hell out of my house. You're gonna sign those divorce papers the second they hit your inbox. And you're not gonna fight me on a damn thing, because if you do... I leaned in, dropping my voice to a whisper. I will destroy you. A single tear slid down her cheek. Good. She opened her mouth, maybe to curse me, maybe to beg, but I was already walking away. For the first time in years, I was free. And damn, it felt good. Emily stood frozen, her breath coming in sharp gasps. For the first time, the realization hit her. She lost. No money. No house. No sympathy. No escape. And I felt F***ing amazing. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. I turned toward my car, enjoying the sound of Emily's shattered ego crumbling behind me. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Detective Owens. I smirked before answering. Tell me you've got more good news. He chuckled. Let's just say this mess is bigger than you thought. I raised an eyebrow. How so? He let out a long breath. We ran Kyle's name. Turns out, he's got priors. Assault, DUI, unpaid debts, he's a real winner. I whistled. Wow. Emily really knows how to pick M. That's not even the best part, Owens continued. The second guy, Tony? Yeah, he's got an outstanding warrant in 2 states. I stopped walking. Come again? Illegal business dealings, fraud, and, get this, identity theft. I barked out a laugh. Oh, this just kept getting better. So, Owens continued, his tone almost amused, I don't suppose you knew your wife was sleeping with a guy who makes a living stealing credit card info? I nearly doubled over laughing. Holy sh**T. You're telling me. She's been played, Jake, Owens confirmed. And I'd bet my badge she doesn't even know it yet. I grinned, looking over my shoulder. Emily was still standing in the driveway, her arms wrapped around herself, looking lost. I could have walked away right then. But where's the fun in that? I ended the call and strolled back up the driveway. Emily's eyes snapped to mine, filled with pure hatred. What the hell do you want now? She spat. I pulled my phone from my pocket, tapped the screen a few times, then turned it around. Her face drained of color. Kyle and Tony's criminal records were staring back at her. She swayed on her feet, mumbling, This isn't real. Oh, it's real, I said, smirking. You weren't just cheating, sweetheart. You were screwing criminals. She let out a choked breath. No. No, Tony's he's a businessman. Tony's a fraudster, I corrected. And Kyle? Well, let's just say he's about to make a lot of new friends in jail. Emily staggered back a step, looking around like she could somehow escape the reality closing in on her. No, no, no. You're lying. You're just trying to. I sent all this to your parents, too, I interrupted, my voice smooth. Thought they'd like to know what their daughter's been up to. Her breath hitched. Panic. Oh, and don't bother calling Tony, I added, watching her fingers twitch toward her phone. Something tells me he's already disappeared. She sucked in a sharp breath. Because she knew I was right. Tony was a criminal. A con artist. And con artists don't stick around when the walls start closing in. Emily had just realized she wasn't his partner. She was his latest victim. She grabbed my shirt, her nails biting into my skin. Jake, listen to me. We can fix this. We can. I shoved her hands off me. There is no we anymore. Her eyes filled with desperation. But. Get out. She blinked. What? I took a step closer, towering over her. Get the F***ck out of my house. Tears welled in her eyes. Jake, please. You made your bed, Emily, I said softly, leaning in just enough for her to feel the cold finality in my words. Now lie in it. She opened her mouth, maybe to beg, maybe to scream, but I was already walking away. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a fool. I felt like a man who just won. 3 days later, I stood by my car, watching as Emily dragged her last suitcase down the driveway. She looked broken. Hollow. A shell of the arrogant woman who had mocked me just days ago. Her parents had cut her off. Tony was gone. Kyle was rotting in jail. She had nothing. She turned to me one last time. You really hate me that much? I smiled. No, Emily. I don't hate you. Her lips parted in surprise. Then I chuckled. I just don't give a sh**t about you anymore. She flinched. And then, without another word, she got into the car she no longer owned and drove away. I watched her disappear down the road. Then I turned, walked into my house, and shut the door on her for good. Checkmate. For the first time in a long time, my house was quiet. No screaming, no lying, no Emily filling the air with her bulls **t. I should have felt peace. Instead, I felt a storm brewing in my gut. Because deep down, I knew, Emily wasn't done. I learned a long time ago that people like her don't just walk away. And I was right. A ghost from the past. It was late, maybe 2 a.m., when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. Then it rang again. And again. By the 4th time, I answered. Who is this? A voice I hadn't heard in years came through the speaker. You think you won, don't you? I sat up straight, every muscle locking. Tony. The same piece of **t who had been in my house days ago, plowing my wife. The same fraudster who vanished the second things got messy. How the hell did you get this number? I growled. Tony chuckled. Come on, Jake. You think I don't have connections? I clenched my jaw. What do you want? You took something from me, he said smoothly. And I don't like losing. I laughed coldly. Oh, you mean Emily? Trust me, pal, you can have her. Silence. Then, in a voice like ice, he said. I wasn't talking about Emily. My blood ran cold. Because suddenly, this wasn't about the affair anymore. This was something else. Something bigger. The trap is set. I stayed up until dawn, waiting. Emily was a liar, but Tony? He was a snake. And snakes don't hiss unless they're ready to bite. By 10 a.m., I had my answer. A knock at the door. I opened it to find a woman standing there. Blonde, sharp eyes, a leather jacket that screamed FBI even without the badge. She flashed it anyway. Mr. Carter? I nodded slowly. Yeah. She held up a file. I think we need to talk. I let her in, my mind racing. She sat down, opened the folder, and slid a photo across the table. It was Tony. But not the Tony I saw days ago. This Tony was in handcuffs. Beaten. Bloody. Your friend here got picked up trying to cross the border, she said. And the first thing he did was start talking. I raised an eyebrow. Talking about what? She leaned forward, her gaze locked onto mine. You. The web of lies. I exhaled sharply. Lady, I don't know what you think is going on, but... She held up a hand. Let's cut the crap. We know about Emily. We know about the affair. But this isn't just about that. She tapped the photo. This man is a career con artist. And for the last 5 years, he's been running an underground operation, fraud, identity theft, laundering dirty money. I frowned. And what does that have to do with me? She slid another paper across the table. It was a bank transfer. From my account. For $250,000. To an offshore account. My stomach dropped. What the F*** K is this? I demanded. She folded her hands. We were hoping you could tell us. Betrayed again. I had a lot of emotions over the last few days. Rage. Humiliation. Satisfaction. But this? This was beyond betrayal. This was criminal. I gritted my teeth. I never made that transfer. She nodded. We believe you. I blinked. You do? She smirked. We're the FBI, Mr. Carter. We know when someone's being set up. And just like that, I knew. I knew who did this. Emily, I whispered. The agent's eyes darkened. That's what we think too. I let out a bitter laugh. Of course. Of F*** King course. I had spent years believing I was married to a selfish, cheating ***ch. Turns out, I was married to a goddamn criminal. And she was trying to take me down with her. The final play. I ran a hand through my hair. So what now? She closed the folder. Now? We catch her. I raised an eyebrow. And how do we do that? The agent stood, pulling out a small recorder. You, Mr. Carter, are going to give your wife a call. I stared at her. Then, slowly, a grin crept onto my face. Tell me exactly what you need me to say. Emily picked up on the first ring. Jake, she breathed, relief dripping from her voice. Baby, I. Cut the bull's ***T, I snapped. You set me up. Silence. Then, soft as a whisper. I don't know what you're talking about. I laughed. Oh, come on. The feds are here, Emily. They have everything. The bank transfers, Tony's confession. It's over. Her breath hitched. Jake, listen. You're going to turn yourself in, I said, my voice sharp. Or they'll hunt you down. And trust me, Emily, you do not want that. She swallowed hard. Jake, please. We can fix this. I grinned. See, that's the thing, Emily. I don't want to fix it. Click. Call ended. I turned to the agent. Did you get that? She held up the recorder, smirking. Every damn word. I exhaled, leaning back. Emily was finished. For real this time. And I was finally free. There was something about that night. A feeling I couldn't quite shake off, like the air was too thick to breathe. Emily had been acting weird for weeks, but I'd convinced myself it was just work stress. At least that's what she kept telling me. I'm just tired, Ben, she'd say, her blue eyes flicking toward her phone, the screen lighting up for the 100th time. Work is crazy right now. Always the same excuse. And like a damn fool, I bought it every single time. That night, it was different. She came home late again, smelling like a mix of perfume that wasn't hers and the lingering scent of some guy's cologne. I wasn't blind. I wasn't stupid. Something had been gnawing at me for days, telling me that there was more going on. But when I heard her laugh in the shower, a light, careless giggle like she was talking to someone else, my heart dropped. It wasn't a laugh I'd heard in a long time. Emily came out of the bathroom, drying her hair, humming like nothing in the world was wrong. I sat there on the bed, staring at her. "Who were you talking to?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She barely looked at me, just shrugged, acting like I was being paranoid again. "No one. I was just thinking of something funny." "Relax, Ben." But that smirk on her face, it wasn't for me. I didn't need to be a genius to know that. I knew. She walked out of the bedroom, leaving me in a haze of suspicion and frustration, but I wasn't done. I grabbed her phone from the dresser. My hands were shaking. My chest tight, the pounding of my heart drowning out the voice in my head that kept telling me, "Don't do it. You don't want to see." But I did. I unlocked her phone, same passcode we'd always used. It was a reflex, muscle memory at this point. My fingers swiped through the texts, through the calls, and then, there it was. "Can't wait to see you again tonight," face blowing a kiss. The message was from some guy named Jeff, and the timestamp showed it had been sent only an hour before she walked in the door. My blood turned cold. I sat there, staring at that damn emoji, feeling the world collapse around me. The words blurred as my vision turned red. What the hell had she done? Before I could even process what was happening, I heard footsteps behind me. Emily's voice sliced through the fog in my head. "What are you doing with my phone?" Her tone was sharp, accusing, like I was the one who had done something wrong. "Who the hell is Jeff?" I spat, my voice shaking with rage. Her face didn't even flinch. That smug, unapologetic look in her eyes told me everything I needed to know. She didn't care. She didn't even bother to lie, not at first. "You've got some nerve going through my stuff, Ben." I stood up, towering over her, the anger boiling inside me. "Don't turn this around on me, Emily." "Who is he?" She crossed her arms, like I was nothing more than a nuisance she had to deal with. "He's nobody. Just a guy from work." I clenched my fists, trying to keep my head from exploding. "A guy from work? You send hearts and kisses to just a guy from work? Don't treat me like an idiot, Emily." And then, there it was. That look. That flicker in her eyes that made me feel like nothing, like I was worth less than the dirt on her shoes. "Well, maybe if you paid more attention to me instead of your own boring life, I wouldn't have to." That hit me like a slap across the face. The air between us crackled with tension, every word she said stinging like a knife twisting deeper into my gut. I opened my mouth to respond, but before I could get a word out, the front door slammed open. 3 men barged in. I barely had time to register what was happening. They grabbed me, tied me up in the blink of an eye. The biggest one, a brute with a scar down his face, leaned close to me. I could smell the sweat and cigarette smoke on his breath. "We could have a threesome with your cheating wife right now, but that would be boring and uninteresting. We're going to let you go," he said, laughing darkly. "And give you exactly 1 hour's head start. Then we're gonna hunt you down. And whoever kills you first will be the one to have her." They all laughed like it was some twisted game. But they had no idea what they'd just done. No idea who they were dealing with. I'm a former Marine. And these bastards? They just woke up the wrong man. The ropes bit into my wrists, but my mind was racing faster than my body could register the pain. Emily stood there, frozen, like a deer caught in headlights. She didn't say a word. Not a damn thing to stop them or defend me. Her silence screamed louder than any words ever could. The big guy, the one with the scar, stood up and stretched like he had all the time in the world. His buddies snickered, already counting the minutes until they could start their twisted little hunt. "You've got 1 hour, soldier boy," he sneered, pointing to the clock on the wall. "Better make it count." They untied me, shoving me toward the door like I was some animal they were letting loose for sport. I staggered out, adrenaline pumping through my veins. My mind was a whirlwind of confusion and anger, but deep down, the Marine in me kicked in. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was war. I heard the door slam behind me, followed by their mocking laughter. I had no time to waste. The clock was ticking, and I needed to move. My first thought was to run, disappear into the night, but something inside me, some primal, furious instinct, stopped me. Emily. How could she just stand there? I couldn't wrap my head around it. She had invited these bastards into our home, let them treat me like dirt, and didn't even flinch when they talked about using her like a prize. What kind of woman had I married? No, not a woman. A monster. I ran through the woods behind our house, my boots sinking into the damp earth. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting long, eerie shadows. Every snap of a twig or rustle of leaves had my heart in my throat, but I had to stay calm. I'd been in worse situations, combat zones, firefights that made this look like a Sunday picnic. I knew how to move without being seen, how to blend into the night. But this was different. This was personal. I reached a small clearing, the night air chilling the sweat on my skin. My mind was racing, trying to come up with a plan. I could circle back, take them by surprise. But with 3 of them and no weapons on me, that was risky. And I wasn't even sure I wanted to go back yet. The betrayal, the sheer disrespect, it was eating me alive. Why? Why had she done it? Images flashed through my mind, Emily's fake smiles, her cold laughter in the shower, the text from that dirtbag Jeff. I thought back to all the little lies she had told me over the past few months, the excuses that never quite added up. I'd been too blind, too trusting. I had to admit it now, I had been played for a fool. The sound of branches snapping nearby jolted me back to reality. They were coming. I could hear them now, talking, laughing, and taunting me from a distance. "Run faster, Ben. Don't make it too easy for us." Their voices echoed through the trees like a sick game of hide and seek, except the stakes were life and death. And Emily? She was waiting for whichever one of them managed to catch me first. I crouched low, hiding behind a thick tree trunk, catching my breath. They hadn't spotted me yet. I had maybe a few more minutes before they closed in. I looked around, scanning the forest floor for anything I could use as a weapon. A rock, a branch, anything. Then I saw it. A large, broken branch sticking out of the ground, thick and heavy enough to knock a man out cold if I swung it right. I grabbed it, feeling the rough wood scrape against my palms, and hunkered down, waiting for them to get closer. The first guy stumbled into view, laughing like a hyena. He was smaller than the others, lanky and cocky, carrying a knife like it was a toy. He didn't see me coming. I swung the branch with all my strength, the crack of wood meeting skull reverberating through the air. He dropped like a sack of bricks, his body crumpling into the dirt. One down. But I couldn't stop to think about what I'd just done. The others would be right behind him. I grabbed his knife, wiping the blood off the blade on my sleeve, and ducked back into the shadows. My heart was pounding, but I felt that old familiar rush, the clarity that came with combat. I could hear the other 2 now, closer than before, their voices carrying through the trees. "Where's Mike?" one of them asked, his tone a little less confident now. I thought he was right behind us. I gripped the knife tighter. These scumbags were about to find out just how big of a mistake they'd made. They might have thought this was a game, but to me, this was survival. And if they thought they could just walk away after what they'd done to me, after the way Emily had betrayed me, they were dead wrong. The footsteps got louder, and I crouched lower, the knife ready in my hand. I wasn't the one being hunted anymore. Now, I was the hunter. I crouched low, every muscle in my body tensed, knife steady in my grip. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and pine, and the forest was eerily quiet except for the rustling footsteps of my pursuers. I could hear their breathing now, close, too close. They still didn't know what had happened to their friend. They still thought I was running, desperate, helpless. They had no idea I'd turned the tables on them. The second guy appeared through the trees, heavier than the first, his footsteps careless. His name, I'd learned from their stupid banter earlier, was Brad. He had a baseball bat slung over his shoulder like this was some back alley fight, not a life-or-death chase. Arrogant prick. I moved silently, a shadow among shadows, keeping low as he passed just feet from where I crouched. He was whistling, a slow, tuneless sound that grated on my nerves. As if he wasn't hunting me. As if this was all some joke. But he'd stop whistling soon enough. I waited until he was almost out of view before stepping out from behind the tree, moving quickly and quietly. Before he could react, I wrapped my arm around his neck, dragging him to the ground, muffling his panicked cry with my forearm. He thrashed wildly, but I had him pinned, the knife pressing against his throat. "Shoo," I whispered harshly into his ear, my voice as cold as the night air. "You picked the wrong guy." His eyes bulged, his face turning a sickly shade of red. I didn't hesitate. I slashed the knife across his throat, and the fight drained out of him as quickly as the blood. His body went limp, collapsing in a heap at my feet. 2 down. I wiped the blade on his shirt and took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay focused. I had to keep moving. The big guy, the one with the scar, their ringleader, was still out there. And he wouldn't be as easy to take down. I needed a plan, fast. But even as I tried to push forward, my mind kept drifting back to Emily. What was she doing right now? Waiting for them to come back with my blood on their hands? Or maybe she was on the phone with that bastard Jeff, laughing about how easy it had been to set me up. I gritted my teeth, my chest tight with a mix of rage and hurt. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who'd end up here, betrayed, hunted, fighting for his life. Emily had taken everything from me, torn apart everything we had built, and for what? Some cheap thrill? Some loser who'd never be half the man I was? The anger pushed me forward. I wouldn't just survive this. I'd make sure she paid for every single lie she'd told. I moved deeper into the woods, keeping low, listening for any sign of the third guy. The leader. The one who had spoken those sick words about hunting me and claiming Emily like she was some prize. I couldn't let that happen. Suddenly, I heard a branch snap behind me. I spun around just in time to see the big guy, Scarface, charging at me, a metal pipe in his hands. He swung hard, and I barely had time to duck as the pipe whistled past my head, slamming into the tree beside me with a loud crack. I stumbled back, the knife still in my hand, but he was on me before I could get a proper grip. He was bigger, stronger, and clearly more experienced in a brawl than the other two. He grabbed me by the collar and threw me against a tree, the impact knocking the wind out of me. "Thought you could take us, huh, tough guy?" he growled, his breath hot against my face. "You're just delaying the inevitable." I gasped for air, struggling to get my bearings as he raised the pipe again, ready to finish me off. But something snapped inside me. All the training, all the years of combat, it came flooding back in a rush of adrenaline. I wasn't going to die here. Not like this. Not at the hands of some lowlife who thought he could take everything from me. I rolled to the side just as the pipe came crashing down again, missing my head by inches. I kicked out, sweeping his legs from under him, and he fell hard, the pipe clattering to the ground. Before he could recover, I was on him, the knife flashing in my hand. We struggled, fists and elbows flying, but I had the upper hand now. I slashed at his arm, and he roared in pain, blood soaking his sleeve. He tried to grab the pipe again, but I kicked it away, pinning him to the ground. "How's it feel?" I snarled, pressing the knife against his throat. "How's it feel to be hunted?" His eyes widened with fear for the first time, and I knew I had him. He wasn't as tough as he pretended to be. None of them were. "I should kill you right here," I hissed, my voice low and dangerous. "But I'm not done yet." I let go, pushing myself off him, and grabbed the pipe. He tried to scramble to his feet, but I slammed the pipe across his chest, knocking the wind out of him. He crumpled to the ground, wheezing, blood dripping from the gash on his arm. "You've got two choices," I said, standing over him, my voice cold and steady. "You either get the hell out of here and never come back, or you're going to die right here in this forest." He looked up at me, eyes wide with terror, and for a moment, I thought he might try to fight again. But then the fear took over, and he nodded, scrambling to his feet and stumbling away into the darkness. I watched him go, the rage still boiling inside me, but I couldn't let it consume me. Not yet. I still had unfinished business. I had to get back to Emily. And when I did, she was going to face the consequences of every lie, every betrayal. I stood there, the night air cold against my sweat-soaked skin, gripping the pipe in my hand. The adrenaline coursing through me was starting to wear off, and for the first time, the weight of what had just happened hit me. 2 men lay dead in the forest, and the third was limping away with his tail between his legs. But none of that mattered right now. The real enemy wasn't out here in the woods. She was waiting for me back at the house. Emily. The name tasted bitter in my mouth. I started walking, my boots sinking into the wet ground as the trees thinned out and the faint glow of our house came into view. It was a strange feeling, coming back to the place that once felt like home, knowing what I now knew. Knowing that my wife, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone, had orchestrated this nightmare. I wiped the blood off my face with the back of my hand as I stepped out of the tree line, my eyes fixed on the house. The lights were still on, the same warm glow that once made me feel safe, but now it looked more like a beacon of deceit. The closer I got, the louder my thoughts became, a mix of anger, disbelief, and betrayal swirling in my mind. What the hell was I supposed to say to her? How do you even begin a conversation after finding out the woman you've shared your life with is a cold-blooded liar who would have watched you die without batting an eyelash? The front door was slightly ajar, just like it had been when those bastards burst in. I pushed it open with the pipe, stepping inside cautiously, my senses still heightened. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I half expected Emily to be standing there, waiting for me with some new lie ready on her tongue. But there was nothing. The living room was empty, her purse tossed on the couch, her shoes neatly lined up by the door like everything was normal. Like this was just any other night. My chest tightened with rage. How could she be so casual after everything? I moved through the house, my grip on the pipe tightening with every step. The house felt suffocating now, the walls closing in around me as memories flashed in my mind, our wedding day, the night spent laughing together, the future we'd planned. All of it, a lie. Finally, I found her. Emily was in the kitchen, sitting at the table with a glass of wine in her hand, her phone sitting next to it. She didn't even flinch when I walked in, didn't bother to look up. She just sat there, swirling the wine in her glass like nothing had happened, like her life wasn't in shambles. I stood there for a long moment, watching her. My heart pounding in my chest, fists clenched, teeth grinding. She knew I was there. She had to. But the silence was deafening. "You've got some nerve, Emily," I finally said, my voice low, cold, the anger barely contained. She looked up slowly, those blue eyes of hers locking onto mine. There wasn't a shred of guilt or remorse in them. If anything, she looked bored. Like I was interrupting her evening. "Ben," she said, almost lazily, taking a sip of her wine. "I see you survived." That's all she said. Not a question, not a flicker of emotion. Just that. I stared at her, feeling the anger bubble up to the surface. "That's all you've got to say? After everything?" She set her glass down, leaning back in the chair, crossing her arms. "What do you want me to say, Ben? Congratulations? You beat them, you win. Bravo." She rolled her eyes, like this was all some joke to her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Win?" I repeated, my voice rising. "Is that what this was to you? Some kind of sick game?" Her lips curled into a smirk, that same smug expression that had been driving me insane for weeks. "You know, Ben, I was really hoping they'd catch you. I thought you might finally meet your match." She glanced at her phone, almost like she was waiting for a message from someone. Maybe from Jeff. The thought made my blood boil even more. I slammed the pipe down on the table, hard enough to rattle the wine glass and make her jump. "You set this up," I said through gritted teeth, my voice shaking with fury. "You let those animals into our home. You planned this. What the hell is wrong with you?" She laughed. Actually laughed. A cold, hollow sound that sent chills down my spine. "You always were so dramatic. Planned it? Please, Ben. You were just too easy to manipulate. Too boring. I needed something more exciting." I felt the ground shift under me. Everything inside me twisted with disbelief. "Exciting? You think this is exciting? You were willing to let them..." I stopped, unable to finish the sentence. It was too disgusting, too twisted. She shrugged, leaning forward slightly, her eyes gleaming with a kind of malice I'd never seen before. "You don't get it, do you? I've been bored for years. This little experiment was a way to liven things up." I felt sick. The woman I married was gone, if she had ever really existed at all. In her place was this cold, calculating monster. I couldn't even wrap my head around it. "So, what now?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "You just expect me to walk away after this? After you tried to have me killed?" She tilted her head, like she was considering it for a moment. "Maybe. Or maybe you'll be smart enough to just disappear. You're good at that, right? Running away from your problems." That was it. That was the last straw. "You have no idea who you're dealing with, Emily," I said quietly, my voice hardening like steel. "But you're about to find out." She didn't even flinch. She just sat there, smiling like she was untouchable. Emily's smile burned into my brain, taunting me, as if she was daring me to do something, anything. I stood there, gripping the pipe so hard my knuckles turned white. The kitchen felt smaller, the air thicker, as though the walls themselves were closing in, suffocating me with the weight of betrayal. I couldn't believe the woman I had shared my life with was sitting there, calmly drinking her wine, after setting me up like this. I had been through hell that night, fighting for my life, dealing with those lunatics, facing death itself, and she was acting like it was all a trivial inconvenience. A boredom cure. I leaned in close, narrowing my eyes at her. "You think this is a game, don't you? You think you can just toy with people's lives, my life, and there won't be consequences?" She met my gaze, unfazed, her smile not even wavering. "Ben, darling," she purred, her voice dripping with condescension. "There are always consequences. You just haven't realized yet that you're the one who's been losing from the start." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut, and I realized she was right about one thing: I'd been losing from the moment I trusted her. I had been blind, complacent, too comfortable in the lie we had called a marriage. But now? Now I saw her for exactly what she was, a manipulative, cold-blooded bitch who didn't care about anything or anyone but herself. I threw the pipe down with a clatter, my patience gone. "Tell me, Emily," I said, my voice calm, too calm. "How long has this been going on? How long have you been screwing me over behind my back?" She took another sip of her wine, as if she was pondering the answer, and then set the glass down carefully. "It started a year ago, I suppose," she said with a shrug. "Maybe longer. Does it even matter now? A year. A whole damn year." My mind reeled. How could I have missed it? How could I have been so clueless, so trusting? It wasn't just Jeff, it couldn't be. She had probably been lying to me for much longer, building her twisted web of deceit. Who else? I demanded, stepping closer to her. "How many others, Emily? How many of your little games have there been?" She smirked, that same irritating smirk that made me want to shake the truth out of her. "Oh, Ben, you really want to go down that road? You won't like the answer." I slammed my fist down on the table, my anger boiling over. "Tell me." She leaned back, clearly enjoying the power she had over me in that moment, and crossed her arms. "Fine. Since you're so desperate to know." There were a few. Jeff was just the latest one. I got bored, Ben. You were always gone, always so wrapped up in your own little world, pretending to be the perfect husband. I needed something real. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. Something real? I scoffed. You call this real? Cheating on me, setting me up to be hunted down like an animal, watching as they tried to kill me? You're sick, Emily. Her eyes gleamed with that same cold, detached malice I'd seen earlier. Maybe I am. Or maybe I'm just tired of pretending to be someone I'm not. I couldn't take it anymore. The anger, the disbelief, the hurt, it all crashed down on me like a tidal wave. I grabbed her by the shoulders, shaking her, my voice raw with emotion. Why? Why the hell would you do this to me? After everything we've been through, everything I've done for you? Why? She looked at me, unblinking, not a hint of fear or remorse in her eyes. Because I could, she said simply. Because I knew you'd never see it coming. You were always so predictable, Ben. So trusting. It was boring. I let go of her, staggering back, feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. The realization hit me harder than any physical blow ever could: she never loved me. Not really. Not the way I had loved her. I had been nothing but a game to her, a pawn in whatever twisted fantasy she had been playing out in her head. She stood up slowly, brushing off her shirt like I had inconvenienced her somehow. Face it, Ben. You were never enough for me. You were always trying so hard to be the hero, the good guy. But you were never really in control, were you? I clenched my fists, the fury coursing through me like fire. You think you're in control now? I asked, my voice low, dangerous. You think you've won? She laughed, a cold, hollow sound that made my skin crawl. Haven't I? You're still standing here, aren't you? Still trying to figure out how to fix this mess. But you can't. It's over. The worst part was, she was right. There was no fixing this. There was no going back to the life we had before. She had destroyed everything. And yet, standing there, staring into her cold, calculating eyes, I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't done. Not yet. You're wrong, Emily, I said quietly, my voice steady. This isn't over. You might think you've won, but you've made one huge mistake. Her smirk faltered, just for a second, as she saw something shift in my expression. Oh? And what's that? I took a step closer, my eyes locked on hers. You underestimated me. For the first time that night, I saw a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. She didn't know what was coming. She didn't understand that the man standing in front of her was no longer the same fool she had manipulated. She had unleashed something she couldn't control. And now? Now it was time for her to face the consequences. I'm done playing by your rules, Emily, I said, my voice filled with a new sense of purpose. You wanted a game? Let's finish it. I turned and walked toward the door, not looking back. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what I had to do next. I walked out of the house, slamming the door behind me, feeling the cold night air hit my face like a slap. My heart was pounding in my chest, but my mind was razor sharp now. No more second guessing, no more confusion. Emily had drawn her line in the sand, and now I was going to cross it. I wasn't just some passive fool she could toy with anymore. She had no idea who she was dealing with, and I was going to make damn sure she regretted every second of her twisted game. I paced the front yard, taking deep breaths to steady myself. The moon hung low in the sky, casting eerie shadows across the ground, but all I could see was her smug face, that cold, heartless expression, like I was nothing. Like the years we spent together were a joke to her. I had been willing to die for her, and she'd been willing to watch me be torn apart for her own entertainment. But I wasn't dead. And I sure as hell wasn't going to walk away quietly. I had the skills. I had the training. I had been in situations where survival was the only option, and this was no different. Except now, it wasn't just about survival, it was about payback. I started to formulate a plan, every detail falling into place as I thought about how to take control of the situation. Emily thought she had the upper hand, but she was wrong. She was too cocky, too sure that she had me figured out. That would be her downfall. First, I needed to deal with her backup plan, Jeff. I pulled out my phone, staring at the screen for a moment before opening her messages again. The smug bastard had been sending her updates throughout the night. Is it done? He had written earlier. I hadn't seen that one before. Clearly, he thought I was dead or on my way out. I scrolled through the rest, my blood boiling as I saw more of their disgusting exchanges, making fun of me, planning this whole thing like I was some kind of pawn in their twisted little game. But they didn't realize I had just flipped the board. I dialed Jeff's number. It rang twice before he picked up. Emily, his voice crackled through the speaker, low and expectant. I didn't say anything at first, letting the silence linger just long enough to make him nervous. Hello? He said again, his voice starting to waver. It's not Emily, I finally said, my tone dark, measured. There was a pause on the other end, a long, tense silence. Then, Ben? What the? Yeah, Jeff. It's me. Guess your little plan didn't work out the way you thought, huh? He stammered, clearly caught off guard. What are you talking about? Where's Emily? Don't worry about her, I growled. You should be worrying about yourself. I could hear him breathing heavily now, panic setting in. Look, man, whatever this is, let's just talk, all right? I don't know what she told you, but... Shut up, I snapped, cutting him off. I know exactly what's going on. You think you can just walk into my life, take what's mine, and walk away without consequences? You're about to find out just how wrong you are. There was another silence, but this time, I could hear the fear in his breathing. Listen, Ben, it wasn't my idea. She came to me, man. She. Yeah, I know, I interrupted. She's good at that, isn't she? Making you feel like it was your idea all along. But let me be clear, Jeff. You're as much a part of this as she is, and I'm coming for both of you. Wait, he said, his voice rising in desperation. I didn't want it to go this far. I'll back off. We'll call the whole thing off, alright? Just let me go, man. I laughed, cold and humorless. Call it off? You don't get it, do you? This isn't about letting you go. It's about making sure neither of you ever forget what you've done. I hung up before he could say another word. The panic in his voice was satisfying, but it wasn't enough. Not yet. Now that I had Jeff scrambling, I knew I had to turn my focus back to Emily. She was the mastermind behind all of this, and there was no way she was getting away with it. But I needed to be smart. She was cunning, manipulative, she knew how to twist people's perceptions, play them against each other. I had seen it all too clearly tonight. But she had a weakness. She always thought she was in control, and that's where she slipped up. I took one more deep breath, then walked back into the house. The kitchen was just as I had left it, but this time, Emily wasn't sitting at the table. The sound of her heels clicking on the floor above me told me she had gone upstairs, probably assuming that I had left, that I'd taken her threat seriously and run off to lick my wounds. She really didn't know me at all. I moved silently up the stairs, gripping the railing with steady hands, my heart no longer pounding with rage but with cold, calculated focus. I reached the top and heard her on the phone again, her voice soft and urgent, probably talking to Jeff. I stood outside the bedroom door, listening. He's still here, she whispered. I don't know what's going on, but he's not dead. I don't know how he got away from them, but... She paused, probably listening to Jeff panic on the other end. I could almost hear his frantic voice through the phone. Just get here, she hissed. We'll figure it out when you get here. I smiled to myself. Perfect. I pushed the door open slowly, stepping into the room. Emily's head snapped up, her eyes widening as she saw me standing there. She quickly ended the call, trying to put on that same confident mask she always wore, but I could see the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. You're still here, she said, her voice tight, but with a hint of nervousness now. Yeah, I said, my voice steady. I'm still here. Her eyes narrowed, clearly not liking that she didn't have control of the situation. What do you want, Ben? You think you can intimidate me? Scare me? I stepped closer, not breaking eye contact. No, Emily. I don't need to scare you. I just need to remind you of one thing. She took a step back, her confidence wavering. And what's that? I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. That I'm not the man you thought I was. She opened her mouth to say something, but before she could get a word out, I grabbed her arm, pulling her close. Her eyes widened in shock, but I wasn't going to hurt her. Not yet. Your little plan is falling apart, I whispered into her ear. And now, we're going to finish this game, my way. She tried to pull away, but I tightened my grip, locking eyes with her, making sure she knew exactly how serious I was. I was going to make sure she regretted ever thinking she could cross me. Emily's breath hitched as I held her close, my grip tightening just enough to remind her that she no longer held the upper hand. Her eyes flickered between fury and fear, but she kept trying to maintain that icy composure. It was slipping, though, and I could see the cracks forming in her armor. Let go of me, she hissed, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and desperation. She still thought she had control, still believed she could talk her way out of this. But not this time. Not anymore. I loosened my grip, stepping back, but I kept my gaze locked on her. You're going to call Jeff back, I said, my voice cold and steady. And you're going to tell him to meet us here. No more games, no more tricks. She narrowed her eyes, trying to regain her footing. Why? So you can play the tough guy. What's your plan, Ben? Scare us both into submission? You can't handle this. You're not. Shut up, I snapped, the words sharp and cutting. I'm done listening to you. Call him, now. For a second, she hesitated, her fingers twitching near her phone like she was debating making a run for it. But she knew better. I wasn't the same fool she had manipulated into this twisted situation. I was the one in control now, and she was beginning to realize it. Reluctantly, she picked up her phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she dialed Jeff's number again. I watched her closely, waiting for any sign that she might try something. But when the call connected, she forced a smile and spoke in that syrupy sweet voice I had heard her use with him before. "Hey, babe," she cooed, her eyes darting toward me, waiting for my cue. "Change of plans. Come to the house. We'll take care of this together." I raised an eyebrow, signaling her to continue. She swallowed hard, her mask slipping just a bit. "Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. He's calmed down. Just get here." She ended the call and looked at me, her fake smile gone now, replaced with something darker. "What now, Ben? You think you can handle both of us?" I leaned in close, lowering my voice to a whisper. "I don't need to handle you, Emily. You've already lost, you just don't know it yet." Her eyes flashed with defiance, but there was something else there now, fear. She didn't like that she was no longer in control of the narrative, that her carefully constructed plan was unraveling. I could see her mind working, trying to figure out her next move, but I wasn't going to give her the time. We waited in tense silence, the minutes dragging by like hours. Emily paced the room, her phone clutched tightly in her hand, while I stood by the window, watching the driveway. Every second felt like the calm before a storm, the anticipation building, knowing that this was it. The final showdown. The sound of a car pulling up outside snapped me back to attention. I saw the headlights cut through the darkness as Jeff's car rolled into the driveway. He was here. I turned to Emily, who was watching me with a mixture of anger and apprehension. "You stay here," I said, my voice firm. "Don't try anything, or I swear you'll regret it." She opened her mouth to argue, but something in my tone must have warned her off. She simply nodded, her face a mask of cold fury. I headed downstairs, gripping the knife I had taken from one of the men in the woods earlier, just in case things went south fast. Jeff was getting out of the car, his eyes darting around nervously as he looked toward the house. He had no idea what was waiting for him. I stepped outside, moving quickly, staying in the shadows until I was close enough. "Jeff," I called out, my voice low but clear. He whipped around, his face pale as he saw me standing there. "Ben, look, man, I don't want any trouble. We can talk about this, okay?" I walked toward him, keeping my eyes locked on his. "You think you're going to talk your way out of this, Jeff? After everything you did? After you planned to hunt me down and kill me for her?" I pointed back at the house, my voice seething with rage. "You don't get to walk away from this." He held up his hands, his eyes wide with fear. "Ben, I didn't want it to go this far, all right? It was Emily, she manipulated me, just like she did you." I let out a bitter laugh. "Don't even try that. You're not innocent in this, Jeff. You played along. You enjoyed every 6 seconds of it." He took a step back, glancing toward his car as if he was considering making a run for it. But I wasn't going to let him escape that easily. Before he could react, I grabbed him by the collar, slamming him against the side of his car. His breath came out in a startled gasp as I pressed the knife to his throat, my eyes burning with fury. "You're going to go inside," I hissed. "And you're going to sit down with your little girlfriend, and we're going to settle this once and for all." He nodded frantically, his face pale with terror. I pulled him away from the car and shoved him toward the house, keeping the knife close to his back as we walked up the steps. When we stepped inside, Emily was standing in the living room, her arms crossed, watching us with cold amusement. "Well, this is cozy," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "You two boys figure out who's the alpha yet?" I shoved Jeff into a chair, keeping the knife in my hand as I faced them both. This was it. Everything had led to this moment. You thought you could destroy me, I said, my voice steady. Both of you. You thought you could take everything from me, play your little game, and walk away like nothing happened. But you were wrong. Emily's eyes narrowed, her confidence still there, but the cracks were showing. Jeff sat silently, his eyes darting between us, clearly terrified. You both made a huge mistake, I continued, my voice filled with cold determination. And now? Now you're going to pay for it. Emily's lips curled into a sneer. What are you going to do, Ben? Kill us both? That's not who you are. I smiled darkly. No, Emily. I'm not going to kill you. Her eyes flickered with confusion. I'm going to make sure you suffer, I said quietly. Just like you tried to make me suffer. And when I'm done, you'll wish you had never met me. The fear in her eyes was real now. For the first time, she realized that the game was over, and she had lost. And I wasn't done yet. Emily stood there, the confident mask she'd worn all night finally crumbling. I could see it in her eyes, the realization that she wasn't in control anymore, that this was all spiraling beyond her reach. Jeff sat in the chair, too terrified to speak, his face pale and sweaty. This was what I had been waiting for, the moment when they understood the full weight of what they'd done. I paced the room slowly, my grip on the knife loosening just enough to show them I wasn't about to lose control, but that I could at any moment if they pushed me. You thought you could just break me, I said, my voice cold and calculated, like I was some pawn in your twisted little game. But let me tell you something, Emily, you and Jeff, you're the ones who are broken. Emily sneered, though the cracks in her bravado were more obvious now. Broken? Please, Ben. You've always been predictable. Too predictable. That's why this was so easy. I laughed, but it was hollow. That's where you're wrong. You've underestimated me from the start, both of you. I glanced at Jeff, who was practically shrinking in his chair. And now you're going to see just how wrong you've been. I leaned against the edge of the table, letting the silence hang in the air for a moment. They needed to feel this. Every second of dread, of not knowing what was going to happen next. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice dropping into something darker, more dangerous. You're both going to pay for what you did. But not in the way you think. Emily's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I smiled, a cold, deliberate smile. You think I'm going to hurt you, right? Maybe even kill you both. But that's too easy, too simple. No, Emily. You're going to live with the consequences of your actions. And when I'm done, you won't just lose me, you'll lose everything. Her face paled slightly, but she didn't flinch. What are you talking about? I moved closer, leaning down so I was eye level with her, my voice a whisper now, filled with venom. I'm going to make sure the world knows exactly who you are, what you've done. Every lie you've told, every manipulation, every twisted game you've played. I'm going to expose you, Emily. Her lips parted in shock. You can't. Oh, I can, I cut her off, standing up straight again. I've got everything I need. Text messages, call logs, evidence of your affair, and that's just the beginning. I've spent enough time being the trusting husband, ignoring the signs. But I'm not ignoring anything now. I turned to Jeff, whose face had gone completely white. And you, Jeff? You think you can just walk away from this? You're as deep in this mess as she is. Your career? Your life? It's over. I'm going to make sure your name is smeared so badly that no one will touch you. You'll be nothing. Jeff stammered, trying to find words, but nothing came out. He was too paralyzed with fear, too aware of how completely the situation had flipped. You think people will believe you? Emily finally spat, though I could hear the desperation creeping into her voice now. You think anyone will care? This is just your word against ours. I shook my head slowly, almost pitying her. I don't need anyone to believe me, Emily. I have the proof. You gave it to me yourself. Your phone, your messages, everything. And by the time I'm finished, no one will care about your side of the story. They'll only see you for what you are, a manipulative, deceitful monster. She went pale, the reality of her situation hitting her like a punch to the gut. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. This wasn't the game she thought she could control anymore. She had lost, and she knew it. You can't do this, she said, her voice breaking. You can't ruin us like this. I didn't ruin us, Emily. You did. I stared at her, unblinking, letting the weight of that truth sink in. This is on you. There was a long, tense silence. Jeff sat frozen in place, his hands shaking, and Emily stood there, her eyes wide with shock, realizing that everything she had worked for, everything she had built through lies and manipulation, was crumbling down around her. And here's the part you won't expect, I said, turning my back on them and heading toward the door. I'm done with you. Both of you. What? Emily gasped. You can't just. Watch me, I said without looking back. I'm walking away. I won't give you the satisfaction of seeing me destroyed. You don't deserve it. I could hear her struggling for words, trying to figure out how to regain control, but it was too late. Her power over me was gone, and she knew it. Jeff muttered something under his breath, but I didn't care. They were nothing to me now. I stopped at the door, turning to face them one last time. I won't kill you, Emily. I'm not like you. But from now on, you'll live with the knowledge that you've lost everything, and it was your own damn fault. With that, I walked out of the house, the cold night air hitting me like a wave of relief. The weight that had been suffocating me for months was finally gone. I wasn't free yet, there was still fallout to deal with, but I had taken the first step. I walked into the darkness, leaving behind the wreckage of a life I once thought was perfect. I didn't know what was ahead, but one thing was certain, I had survived. And I would keep surviving. As for Emily and Jeff, they would be left to deal with the consequences of their actions, while I built something new from the ashes. The hunt was over. And I had won.
Sir, you're not on the list. You need to leave. That's what the security guard said as he stood in front of the gate of the house I bought, holding out one hand like I was some stranger off the street. But what really broke me wasn't the guard. It was the sight behind him, through the living room window. My wife, Rebecca, in one of my shirts, tangled in the arms of some shirtless guy on my couch. She turned, locked eyes with me, and smirked. Not a look of guilt, not even surprise. A smirk, like she'd been waiting for me to see this. Like she wanted me to know I'd been replaced. I felt my heart stop, then restart in pure rage. I didn't yell, didn't charge the guard. I just looked at her, smiled back, and turned around. But that wasn't the end. Because the next morning, while I was sipping coffee in my apartment, they showed up at my door, pale, shaking, and whispering one word over and over. Help. Now let me take you back. Because what led to that moment was a storm of betrayal, secrets, and a woman so cold-hearted, she turned our marriage into a war zone. I didn't open the door right away. I stood there, watching them through the peephole like they were ghosts from a life I'd already buried. Rebecca looked like she hadn't slept. Her makeup was smudged, her hair a mess, and her eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, were now wide and trembling. The guy behind her, the same clown who had his hands all over her in my house, looked like he'd seen the devil himself. I opened the door just enough to make them flinch. Wow, I said calmly. Didn't expect guests. Especially not the home-wrecking edition. Rebecca stepped forward, her voice shaky. Jackson, I know how it looked, but please, just let us talk. Just a few minutes. You got exactly 30 seconds to make me not slam this door in your face. I replied, leaning against the frame. Start talking. She hesitated, then blurted out, they kicked us out. I blinked. What? The police. Your lawyer filed some emergency motion. There's something about the title and ownership. They said we weren't legally allowed to be there. They escorted us out. My lips curled into a slow, cold smile. So let me get this straight. You replaced the locks on the house I paid for, hired a security guard to keep me out, and invited this jackass in like it was a honeymoon suite. And now you're telling me you got kicked out for squatting? Neither of them answered. Rebecca was already crying. The boyfriend, Travis or Trevor or some name I didn't care to remember, looked like he wanted to disappear. Do you have any idea what it felt like? I asked quietly. Standing outside my own house while you were laughing inside with your little boy toy? I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she said, trying to grab my arm. I stepped back. Don't touch me. You meant for all of it. The cold shoulder. The locked doors. The late nights pretending you were with friends. The sudden perfume that wasn't yours. You planned this for months, didn't you? Her silence was answer enough. I was stupid, but I wasn't blind. I'd seen the signs. The lies started small, forgotten texts, suspicious smiles, disappearing on weekends. Then came the gaslighting. You're paranoid. Why don't you trust me? You're imagining things. Over and over, until I started believing maybe it was all in my head. But the truth? The truth was she was busy living a second life while I was trying to build our first. Now she stood there, broken and desperate, like that erased everything she'd done. I stared at them both for a long second, then stepped aside. Come in, I said. Tell me everything. Every single thing. And if you lie to me again, I'll throw both of you back on the street. They walked in quietly, like kids caught stealing. She sat on the edge of the couch. He stood near the door, hands in pockets, clearly wanting to vanish. I grabbed a chair, flipped it around, and sat facing them. The room was dead silent. Start from the beginning, I said. I want to know everything. When it started, how long it's been going on. Don't leave out a single damn thing. Rebecca nodded slowly, wiping her eyes. It started 6 months ago. 6 months. 6 months of lies. 6 months of coming home to my bed with someone else's fingerprints still on her. I clenched my jaw, but said nothing. We met at a work event, she continued. It was just flirting at first. Then drinks. Then it just happened. I didn't plan to fall for him. But, stop, I said, raising a hand. Don't insult me with that it just happened crap. Grown people make choices. You chose this. She broke again, sobbing into her hands. The boyfriend looked at me and tried to say something, but I stood up fast and pointed to him. Don't. Speak. He sat down. I walked to the window and stared out into the gray sky. 6 months. I could feel something inside me shutting down. The love, the hurt, the memories. It was like someone was going through my soul with a sledgehammer. And yet, underneath the wreckage, something else was growing. Clarity. The storm had passed. And now I was the one in control. I stood there for a long moment, my back to them, watching the cars pass by, my reflection ghosted in the window. Somewhere out there, people were waking up beside the ones they loved, going to work, drinking coffee, kissing their kids goodbye. And here I was, standing in a room with the woman who promised to build a future with me, and the guy she destroyed it with. Rebecca finally spoke again, voice low, almost whispering. I was lonely, Jackson. I turned slowly. Lonely. She nodded, eyes still glassy. You were always working. You were building this life for us, but you were never really with me. I needed attention. I needed to feel seen. That hit hard. Not because it was true, but because it was rehearsed. Like she'd prepared that line in case she ever got caught. I was working so you wouldn't have to. So we could afford that house. So you could quit your job, start your yoga studio, live the life you said you wanted. I snapped. Her voice cracked. And I appreciate that. I do. But I needed more. More. She needed more. So she crawled into bed with this spineless clown who was now sitting in my living room like a puppy that pissed on the carpet. My fists curled. He spoke up finally. Look, man, I didn't know she was still with you at first. She told me things were over. She said you were separated. Shut your mouth, I growled. You knew. Don't play dumb. You just didn't care. You thought you were better than me. Thought you'd steal a man's wife and sleep in his house while he was locked out of it like a damn stray dog. He shrank in his seat, saying nothing else. Rebecca wiped her face again. It didn't mean to go this far. I was going to tell you, I swear. But then we got in that fight, and I was angry, and I changed the locks. I told him to move in. So it was spite, I said. Not love. Not passion, just revenge. She didn't answer. I walked over to the shelf near the door and pulled out a folder. Thick, black, heavy. I know everything now, I said quietly. Every text, every hotel bill, every charge on the credit card I gave you. My lawyer handed me a timeline that would make Netflix jealous. She went pale. This wasn't 6 months. This was almost a year, I added. You were lying to me while I was looking at engagement photos and planning our anniversary trip. You were rolling around with him while I was choosing which countertop you'd like for the kitchen. Tears streamed down her face. Real or fake, I couldn't tell anymore. Why are you here, Rebecca? I asked. Why come crawling back now? She hesitated, then whispered, because I lost everything. They froze my accounts. I tried to take money from our joint savings, but it was gone. The house was flagged by the bank because of the title. She looked at the boyfriend. He doesn't have anywhere to go. I looked at him and laughed coldly. Of course he doesn't. Please, she said again, trembling. I have nothing left. I know I don't deserve anything, but I didn't expect it to fall apart so fast. No, you expected me to fall apart, I said. But I didn't. I'm still standing. She opened her mouth, but I raised a finger. You blocked me from my own home. Embarrassed me. Disrespected me in ways I can't even say out loud. You let him put his hands on you under the roof I paid for, and you didn't flinch. I was stupid, she whispered. And now I'm sorry. I stared at her. Then I turned to him. You. Out. He scrambled up without a word and bolted out the door like the spineless snake he was. Rebecca didn't move. She just sat there, broken. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt empty. But in that emptiness, I knew what I had to do. She sat in silence, hands shaking in her lap, mascara streaked like war paint down her cheeks. I leaned against the wall, watching her, not out of sympathy, but calculation. I needed to see if there was even a flicker of the woman I married still hiding behind those tear-stained eyes. But all I saw was guilt that had finally caught up to her. You planned this, I said, quieter now. You didn't just mess up, Rebecca. This wasn't one mistake. This was months of deception, covering your tracks, lying to my face while smiling across the dinner table. And now that your fantasy burned down, you're back here with puppy eyes? She looked up. I didn't come here to ask you to take me back. Oh, don't flatter yourself. That's never going to happen. I came to say I'm sorry. And to tell you the truth. Finally, I stepped closer, arms crossed. Go on then. Let's hear it. She took a breath like she was about to dive underwater. The first time was at the company retreat. We were drinking. Everyone else was in bed. He followed me back to my room, and we crossed a line. She avoided saying it, like it somehow made it better. And then, I asked. It didn't stop. I told myself I was going to end it. But I didn't. I started comparing everything. You. How he listened. How you didn't. How he made me feel like a woman again, not just a wife. I laughed. Short, bitter. So I stopped making you feel like a woman, huh? Is that why you let him treat you like a toy in my house? That's not fair. No. What's not fair is building a future with someone who saw me as a placeholder. I cut in. You didn't just cheat on me, Rebecca. You erased me. You used me to build your comfort zone. And the second it got too real, you ran to some shiny distraction. She flinched like I'd hit her. You know what hurts most? I said. It's not even that you did it. It's how damn normal you were after. Like nothing happened. Like we were still us. You kissed me goodnight after letting him pull your hair in a hotel bed. That's the part that keeps me up. She was crying again, a silent, ugly cry this time. No performance. Just raw wreckage. And still, I felt nothing. I turned to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. She didn't move. The whole room was frozen in that same nauseating silence we used to share in bed when we both knew something was wrong but refused to admit it. When I sat back down, I spoke quietly. I filed for divorce last week. Her head shot up. That's why the accounts were frozen. That's why the house was flagged. I changed the locks, froze the credit cards, scrubbed your name off everything I could before walking away. You weren't supposed to know until the papers arrived, but honestly, I wanted to see your face when you realized the tables turned. Her voice cracked. I thought you'd just yell. Or throw something. But not this. I don't break like you do, Rebecca, I said coldly. I don't burn the house down just because I don't like the wallpaper. I rebuild. Quietly. Cleanly. And you, well, you'll always be ashes. She looked at the floor, defeated. You can stay here tonight. Couch only. In the morning, I want you gone. No discussions. No begging. You made your choice. This is mine. I understand, she whispered. I stood, grabbed a blanket, and tossed it on the couch without a word. Then I walked into my room, shut the door, and leaned against it. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel anger. I felt peace. Not because she apologized, but because I was finally done believing she ever loved me the way I loved her. I didn't sleep that night. Not a second. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to every small sound in the apartment. Every cough, every shift of fabric, every time the springs in the couch groaned under her weight. My mind kept playing the same scenes on repeat. Her face through the window, that smirk, that hand on her hip, her boyfriend behind her like he owned the place. My place. And then there was the silence. The kind that comes after a war. Not peace. Just emptiness. At 5:43 a.m., I got up. I walked past the living room without looking at her. She was asleep, curled up in the blanket I gave her, mouth slightly open like none of this mattered. Like she hadn't torn a man apart and was just another tired girl on someone's couch. I poured myself coffee, stared out the window, and thought about what I'd say when she woke up. What was left to say? She stirred around 7. I didn't turn around when I heard her sit up. Just kept sipping the bitter, burnt coffee and watching the sunrise stretch across buildings that didn't care who was hurting inside them. Jackson. Her voice cracked. I said nothing. She stood behind me. Can we talk one last time? I finally turned. I said everything I needed to last night. But if you need to say something, go ahead. Make it quick. She looked down at the floor like it had answers she'd never bothered to look for until now. I just wanted you to know. I wasn't always like this. That's supposed to help me sleep better? I asked. She swallowed hard. No. Just, before you, no one ever treated me with respect. No one ever gave me stability, safety, a home. You were the first. And for a while, it scared me. It felt too good. Like I didn't deserve it. So I kept waiting for it to fall apart. And when it didn't, I broke it myself. I nodded slowly. That's about the only honest thing you've said. She looked like she wanted me to say more. Maybe offer some comfort, some crumb of validation. I didn't. You need to go, I said simply. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I'll pack my things. You have nothing here. She froze. What? You have nothing? That suitcase you brought. You can take that. Everything else stays. You walked away from your name on this life the moment you handed a stranger the keys to our front door. I walked over to the counter and dropped a folded piece of paper in front of her. This is your next address. I paid for a hotel room. 3 nights. After that, you're on your own. Her lips trembled. You don't have to do that. No, I said sharply, I don't. But I'm not like you. I don't throw people out into the street, even when they deserve it. She nodded again, quietly this time, took the paper and turned toward the door. I watched her slip on her shoes, slowly, like part of her still believed there'd be a last-minute change of heart. There wasn't. When the door clicked shut behind her, I sat down on the couch. It still smelled like her perfume. I almost tore the cushions apart just to get rid of it. I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually, I stood up and opened the windows. Let the cold air in. Let it bite. She was gone. The silence that remained wasn't empty anymore. It was freedom, and I was still standing. Later that afternoon, I went back to the house. The same house she once locked me out of. The one with the new locks and the smirks and the smug laughter through the window. I didn't go there to reminisce. I went with a purpose. I parked down the street, took a deep breath, and stepped out of the car. I wasn't dressed for drama, just a hoodie, jeans, and boots, but every step toward that front gate felt heavier than the last. The security guard from before? Gone. All that remained was the silence of a house that had been hollowed out by betrayal. The windows looked like empty eyes. The front door, once sealed shut against me, was now just another door. I had the new key in my hand. My lawyer worked fast. The court order had cleared the way. Title secured. Locks changed again. Rebecca's name was stripped from everything. She had no rights left here. When I stepped inside, it hit me all at once. The scent of her. Still in the drapes. Still in the cushions. Still in the air like a ghost that hadn't gotten the message. I stood in the entryway for a while, staring at the framed photo on the wall, one of those cheesy engagement shots. She was laughing, looking at me like I was her whole world. I looked back at her like a man who would give up everything just to keep her happy. I pulled it down and dropped it face first into the trash. The house was a mess. Half-packed boxes, 2 wine glasses in the sink, clothes on the stairs. Apparently, When the cops removed them, they were in a hurry. The bedroom was even worse. Sheets tangled, drawers open, a cheap cologne stench still clinging to the pillows. I didn't touch anything for a while. Just stood there, breathing it all in, forcing myself to look, to feel, to let it burn through me like poison before I ripped it all out. Then I started cleaning. Not like a man doing chores. Like a man performing an exorcism. I tore the sheets off, dumped them in a garbage bag. Every pillow, every towel, every item of hers that still lingered, gone. Her heels, her robes, her perfume bottles. I filled 3 trash bags before I even made it to the bathroom. That's where I found it. A little pink notebook. Curious, I opened it. It wasn't just a notebook. It was a damn diary. At first, I thought I'd toss it straight out. But something told me to read. Big mistake. There were entries about him. Travis. About nights they spent in my bed. About how she laughed at my routines. My early mornings. My habits. She wrote things like, he doesn't excite me. He's just stable. Safe. Predictable. Travis makes me feel alive. Every word felt like a blade. There were even entries about their plans. Moving to Miami. Taking half my assets. Starting over. She was building her exit strategy while I was planning our future. I threw the notebook in the fireplace and watched it burn. Later that evening, I called a locksmith and had every single lock replaced again. I changed the alarm code. Booked a professional cleaning crew. Ordered new sheets. Knew everything. I was done pretending anything about this place was ours. This was my home now. No ghosts allowed. And yet, as night fell and the house grew quiet, I could still hear echoes. Her laugh from the kitchen. Her footsteps down the stairs. Her voice calling my name like it still meant something. I poured a drink. Sat down on the back porch. Stared out at the yard I once dreamed of filling with kids and cookouts. Now it was just me. But I wasn't broken. I was free. And when freedom comes wrapped in fire, you don't run, you let it burn. The next morning came with an odd stillness. No phone buzzing with her texts. No clattering heels across the hardwood floor. No fake kiss on the cheek before she disappeared for hours, claiming errands or yoga or dinner with the girls. Just silence. Real, uninterrupted silence. I got up, made coffee, and sat by the window. The house felt different already. Lighter. Not in a warm, joyful way. More like the air after a storm rips through a town. Debris still everywhere, but the wind has stopped screaming. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I stared at it for a second, debating. I already knew who it was. I answered anyway. Jackson. Her voice. Shaky. Trying to sound soft again, like the girl she used to be. What? I'm at the hotel. They said the reservation was only for 3 nights. I don't have anywhere to go after this. And I don't know what to do. You figured out how to cheat, lie, and lock me out of my own house, I said flatly. Figure this out too. There was silence on the line. Then the begging started. I don't want money. I'm not asking for anything permanent. Just help me get back on my feet. You mean the feet you used to sneak around behind my back? Her breath hitched. I made mistakes, Jackson. No. You made decisions, I corrected. Every lie, every secret, every time you came home smelling like someone else. You decided. Don't you dare soften it now. I'm not the only one who messed up, she said, voice suddenly sharper. You were cold, absent, obsessed with your job. I was drowning while you were climbing ladders. And instead of reaching for me, you opened your legs for someone else. Got it, she gasped. That's not fair. Neither was you giving my body heat to a stranger while I was killing myself to provide for you. I hung up. No yelling. No dramatic final words. Just a click. I sat there staring at the wall for a long time, heart pounding, rage curling behind my ribs like a slow fire. That was when the knock came. I opened the door, half expecting her again, but it wasn't Rebecca. It was Travis, the boyfriend, the man-child who'd smiled at me from my own living room window. He looked like trash, hair disheveled, eyes bloodshot, sweatshirt stained with something dark and greasy. He stood on my doorstep like a lost dog, trying to look tough and failing miserably. I need to talk to you, he said. I stared. He cleared his throat. Look, I didn't know she was married at first. I swear. She said it was over between you two. I believed her. Cut the crap. I'm serious, he said, stepping forward. But then I saw it. The way she used both of us. The lies. She told me you hit her. My jaw clenched. What? She said you were violent. That you were controlling. That's why she brought me into your house. said she needed protection. I laughed. Actually laughed. He looked confused. Let me guess. Then she said she'd leave me soon, right? Just needed time. Just needed space. But she never did. She just kept both of us spinning like morons. He nodded. She's not staying with you now, is she? I asked. No. We had a fight. Big one. She tried to take my credit cards. Of course she did. I stared at him for a long second, then said, "Get off my porch." But now. He hesitated, then turned and walked off down the street like a broken scarecrow. I closed the door, locked it, and finally exhaled. That was the final piece. The last confirmation I needed. Rebecca wasn't just a cheater. She was a parasite. And for the first time in months, I realized it wasn't my fault. I wasn't weak. I wasn't blind. I was just the one who loved harder. But I wasn't that man anymore. And I never would be again. A week passed. I didn't hear from her again. No calls. No texts. No desperate voicemails at 3 a.m. pleading for another chance. It was like she'd finally accepted the truth, or maybe just found her next victim. Either way, I didn't care. I had my house back. My name. My peace. But peace isn't just silence. It's clarity. It's waking up and not second-guessing yourself. It's making coffee without wondering if someone's lying to you in the next room. It's walking through your own front door without wondering if someone else has walked through it while you were gone. One evening, I sat out on the porch. Same chair, same view, but I felt different. The man I was when I said I do, he's gone. That man believed in forever. This man believes in reality. And here's the reality. I gave everything I had to someone who treated me like an option, who wore a ring I paid for while fantasizing about another man, who took shelter under my roof while plotting her escape like I was some prison warden and she was the poor caged bird. But I'm not bitter. Not anymore. I'm smarter. And if you're listening to this, if you're someone sitting in a car at 2 a.m. wondering why her phone's face down every night, or why she suddenly takes walks without you, or why the laughter you once shared now feels like a stranger's, listen closely. Trust your gut. Ask the hard questions. And if she lies, leave. Not because it's weak, but because it's strength most people will never have. The strength to walk away from someone you love the moment they stop loving you. My wife blocked me from the home I bought. She let another man sleep in my bed. She tried to erase me. But in the end, I'm still here. And she's gone. The house is clean. The locks are changed. The shadows are gone. And the silence? Now it feels like freedom. Coming back from the front lines with a battered leg and more scars on my soul than on my skin, I just wanted one thing. To open the door to my house, feel my wife's arms around me, and remind myself why I survived. Instead, when I limped up the driveway of our small white house in suburban Texas, leaning heavy on my cane, something twisted in my gut. A brand new black Mustang, still glistening from the dealer's wax, was parked right where my old Chevy used to sit. I didn't recognize it. And when I pushed the doorbell, it wasn't Hannah, the woman who once promised to love me until death, who answered. It was a man, tall, smirking, wearing my robe. He looked at me like I was the stranger here. And with a voice full of mockery, he said, "I'm the man of this home now. Your family is better off with me." For a second, I thought I hadn't heard right. That maybe the bomb that almost took my leg also scrambled my damn brain. But before I could even process it, Hannah appeared behind him. She wasn't the girl I kissed goodbye a year ago. She was wrapped in a silk robe, the robe I bought her for our 3rd anniversary, hair tousled, lips swollen from too much kissing. She leaned lazily on the doorframe, smirking like a damn villain in a soap opera, and said, "It's true. I couldn't wait for you to come back from the war. He's the boss here now." It felt like someone reached into my chest and ripped my heart out with their bare hands. But I didn't break. Not then. I stepped forward, kicked the door wide open so hard it slammed against the wall, and watched them both flinch. Good. Let them feel even a shred of what I was feeling. From my jacket pocket, I pulled out a small disc, smooth, silver, and lethal. I dropped it onto the hall table like a grenade, the drone footage inside ticking like a time bomb. They didn't know yet. They had no clue. That drone, a gift from my squad mates before I came home, had captured everything while I was away at therapy. Him sliding into my driveway when he thought no one was looking. Their sick little romantic wrestling matches in my backyard pool. Nights where she wore my shirts for him. Mornings where they cooked breakfast together, laughing like a perfect little married couple. while I lay half-dead thousands of miles away. I saw it all. Every betrayal. Every lie. Every filthy kiss. Rage. It's not the kind of anger you feel when you get cut off in traffic. It's not the kind of anger you feel when someone calls you a name. It's the kind of rage that drowns you, boils your blood until your vision blurs red, turns your hands into weapons you barely control. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. I saw the smugness slip right off Hannah's face the moment she realized. I knew everything. No more fake tears. No more pathetic excuses. And when her new man, Brandon, I'd later find out, tried to step forward like he was going to put his hands on me, I smiled. The kind of smile that promised destruction. What happened next? No one could have predicted. Not them. Not me. Not even God himself. Because betrayal doesn't just kill love. It turns it into something a hell of a lot more dangerous. And I was ready to burn everything to the ground. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It leaves fingerprints everywhere, if you know where to look. And trust me, once the first crack showed, the whole damn thing shattered. After I dropped that disc onto the table, Hannah didn't rush to explain, didn't beg, didn't cry. She just crossed her arms, leaned her hip against the wall, and rolled her eyes like a teenager caught sneaking out past curfew. "Really, Jake?" she said, voice dripping with fake boredom. "You're gonna make a scene? You should be grateful someone stayed to take care of things while you were off playing hero." Playing hero. That's what she called 12 months of hell, watching brothers bleed out in my arms, praying every day to come back in one piece for her. The disrespect hit harder than any bullet. But I didn't explode. Not yet. Instead, I walked deeper into the house. My house, past Brandon, who had the balls to still be standing there, chest puffed out like he owned the place. Everything looked wrong. The photos on the walls had changed. Pictures of us replaced by pictures of them at the beach, at concerts, at restaurants I'd never even been to. Half my clothes were gone from the closet. The living room smelled like a cologne I didn't recognize, musky and cheap. And the worst part? The little welcome home banner I had fantasized about seeing? Yeah, it was stuffed in the trash can by the kitchen, stained with what looked like wine and God knows what else. That was the moment I knew this wasn't new. This wasn't some oops mistake that happened last weekend. No, this was a full-scale replacement mission. Hannah had uprooted me from her life months ago, and she didn't even have the decency to hide it. I stormed upstairs, my legs screaming in protest, and threw open our bedroom door. It hit the wall with a satisfying bang. The bed, the one I saved 3 paychecks to buy her, was unmade, the sheets twisted and stained in ways that made my stomach churn. A half-empty bottle of cheap champagne sat on the nightstand. 2 glasses. One still had lipstick smudged on the rim, the same shade Hannah used to wear when she said she wanted to look pretty for me. I picked up the glass, stared at it like it might explain how everything went so wrong, and then hurled it against the wall. The crash echoed through the house. I heard Brandon downstairs shift uncomfortably. Good. Let him be scared. Then, tucked under the bed, I spotted something that made my hands shake. A pair of dog tags. Mine. The ones I gave her before I deployed, with the words "come back to me" engraved on the back. They were covered in dust. Forgotten. Abandoned. Just like me. I clenched them in my fist so tight the edges dug into my skin. The pain felt good. Real. Anchoring. When I finally made it back downstairs, Hannah and Brandon were whispering by the door like 2 guilty kids plotting how to spin the truth. I didn't give them the chance. I tossed the dog tags at her feet. She didn't even flinch. "That's how much I meant to you," I said, my voice raw and low. "Just another piece of junk to shove under the bed once you found someone with a newer car and a fatter wallet?" She smirked, actually smirked, and said, "You were broken goods when you came back. I needed a real man." And just like that, any hope I had of saving this was slaughtered. Dead on arrival. But if she thought I was going to walk away quietly, she didn't know me at all. Not anymore that I wasn't some broken man she could sweep under the rug. I fought for my life, fought for my country, and now, standing in the ruins of what used to be my home, I realized I had one more fight left in me. And this one was personal. I closed the distance between us in 3 strides, the cane forgotten, adrenaline surging through my battered body. Brandon flinched again, but Hannah didn't move. She stood there, arms crossed, lips twisted in that same cruel smirk. "You think you're some kind of queen now, huh?" I said, low and controlled, though every nerve screamed for me to lose it. All you are is a liar wearing a silk robe too cheap to hide the rot underneath. Her eyes narrowed. You think you're some hero? She spat. You left me alone. You think you can disappear for a year and come back expecting me to just sit here, loyal and miserable? Every word stabbed deeper than any knife could. This wasn't guilt. Wasn't shame. She actually thought she was right. Brandon stepped forward then, trying to play the tough guy. You need to leave, old man. Hannah's moved on. I laughed. Short, bitter. I'd survived snipers, mortars, and roadside bombs. This idiot in my robe was nothing. Without breaking eye contact with Hannah, I said, Tell me, Hannah, was it worth it? Was throwing away everything we built together worth a few cheap thrills and some half-baked promises from a guy who probably couldn't find his own *** without a GPS? Her smile faded. For the first time, a flicker of something, regret, fear, crossed her face. But it was too late. Way too late. I wasn't here to argue. I wasn't here to beg. I was here to end this. I saw everything. I said, voice hard as steel. The late nights. The sneaking around. The way you laughed with him like I never even existed. She shrugged, like none of it mattered. Like I was just some pest she needed to swat away. So what, she said. You were a ghost long before you came back. You're not a man anymore, Jake. You're just leftovers. The words hit me like a truck. Not because they were true, but because I realized, in that moment, she believed them. Hannah wasn't the girl I fell in love with. Wasn't the woman who wrote me letters and cried at the airport. That Hannah was dead, buried under months of lies, betrayal, and selfishness. I stared at her for a long moment, memorizing the woman she had become, cold, shallow, unrecognizable. Then I turned to Brandon, who was puffing his chest like he was ready to throw hands. You think you've won something? I said, almost pitying him. You think stealing a broken woman makes you a king? Buddy, you just signed up for a lifetime of hell, and you don't even see it coming. He opened his mouth to answer, but Hannah cut him off, placing a manicured hand on his chest. Let him leave, she said. He's not worth it. I laughed again, harder this time. They thought they were sending me away like some beaten dog. But they had no idea. They had no idea what was coming next. Because betrayal demands payment. And I was done being the one who paid. When I finally walked out that door, it didn't feel like I was leaving my home. It felt like I was escaping a burning building, coughing up the ashes of a life that didn't exist anymore. The Texas heat pressed against me like a fist, but I barely noticed. I limped down the driveway, my cane tapping the pavement with sharp, angry beats. Behind me, laughter spilled from the house. Their laughter, like it was all some kind of damn joke. For a second, I thought about turning back. Thought about ripping Brandon out by his hair and making him regret the day he ever met Hannah. Thought about making her see the pain she'd carved into me with every lie, every stolen kiss. But I didn't. Not yet. Because what I was planning needed patience. It needed precision, not rage. I slid into my truck, the one thing they hadn't tainted, and just sat there, hands clenched on the steering wheel, the engine rumbling beneath me. The memories hit like shrapnel. Her voice in the airport, whispering, come back to me. Her letters, filled with promises and lipstick kisses. The way she used to cry at night, scared I wouldn't make it back. All of it. Fake. It wasn't just the betrayal of the body. Those nights she spent wrapped around another man. It was the betrayal of the soul. The way she erased me like I was a mistake she regretted making. I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. The man who looked back wasn't the boy who had once believed in loyalty, in love. He wasn't even the soldier who survived hell overseas. He was something new, something colder, sharper, more dangerous. I didn't cry, didn't scream. I just sat there, breathing slowly, letting the fury settle into my bones like steel being forged in fire. Hannah wanted a new man. Fine. She could have her new man. But she was going to lose everything in the process. Her comfort, her safety, her little fairy tale. The drone footage was only the beginning. I had more. Screenshots, texts, bank statements showing the money she siphoned off our joint account to buy Brandon his shiny toys. Photos of them traveling to places she swore we could never afford to visit together. Evidence. More than enough to blow up their little world. The law might be slow, but it had teeth. And with a few phone calls, I could make sure Hannah was left with nothing but memories and regrets. But revenge wasn't just about taking her money. It was about making her feel small, powerless, forgotten. Exactly the way she made me feel standing in my own home, while some random clown wore my robe and called himself the man of the house. I turned the key, the truck roaring to life beneath me. Not just a machine, a warhorse. And I was riding into my next battle. This one wasn't for honor. It wasn't for country. It was for me. As I pulled out onto the road, leaving the carcass of my old life behind, I made a promise to myself. I would not be the broken man she painted me to be. I would not let her win. By the time I was done, Hannah and her little puppet wouldn't even recognize the pieces of their shattered dreams. They thought I was finished. They thought I was just another casualty. They were about to find out. You don't betray a soldier and expect to walk away clean. The first rule of war. Know your enemy better than they know themselves. Hannah and Brandon thought they'd won. They thought I'd crawl away and lick my wounds, broken and pathetic. They didn't realize they hadn't just burned a bridge. They'd declared war. I spent the next 2 days in a motel just outside town, my legs screaming for rest, but my mind sharp as a razor. Planning, preparing, watching. The drone wasn't the only thing I had up my sleeve. One of the perks of military life is the friendships you make. Brothers who'll back you up no matter how ugly it gets. I called up Chris, my old squad mate. He owed me. Big time. And Chris? Chris was now working a quiet job in cybersecurity. The kind of job where privacy was just another word for challenge accepted. He didn't ask questions when I told him I needed access to everything. Emails, bank accounts, phone records. He just said, "Send me what you got. I'll take care of the rest." By nightfall, I had enough dirt to bury them both. Turns out, Brandon wasn't just some random pretty boy. He had a history, a juicy little rap sheet full of DUIs, unpaid debts, and a few restraining orders from exes he'd accidentally gotten too rough with. And Hannah? My dear, sweet Hannah had been siphoning money from our savings for months, buying gifts, paying for weekend getaways she told me were girls' trips. Thousands of dollars. Gone. It would have crushed the old me. But now, it just fueled the fire. I sat on the lumpy motel bed, the glow of my laptop screen painting the room in cold blue light, and mapped out their destruction. Step by step, move by move. First, I printed copies of everything, photos, emails, bank records, and packaged them into neat little envelopes. One addressed to my lawyer, one to her employer, a squeaky clean insurance company that would not appreciate their employees committing marital fraud, one to Brandon's parole officer, a little cherry on top, just to make sure he got the attention he deserved. Second, I set up a meeting with my bank. I froze every joint account, canceled every card she had access to, and rerouted what little money was left into a new, solo account. Her little shopping sprees? Over. Third, I rented a storage unit and started moving my belongings out of the house. Not the junk, not the broken memories. Only the important stuff. My military medals. My late father's watch. The photo albums she clearly didn't bother to throw away because they weren't about her. The rest of it, the furniture, the TVs, the car she loved to drive, I left. Dead weight. Let her have it. It would be a cold comfort when the walls started closing in. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because some wars aren't won with bullets. They're won with patience, with silence, with making your enemy realize they lost long before the final blow hits. And when I was done setting the pieces in motion, when I finally leaned back in that creaky motel chair and looked at the battlefield I had created, I smiled for the first time in days. Not because I was happy. Happiness was a foreign country now. I smiled because I knew. Hannah thought she traded up. She was about to find out she bet everything on a losing hand. And the first move was already on its way. Tick, tick, tick. The countdown to their collapse had begun. It started with the little things. Small cracks in Hannah's perfect little world. Barely noticeable at first, but once a foundation starts crumbling, it doesn't take long before the whole damn house falls down. The first strike was delivered at 9 a.m. sharp. A courier showed up at her office, crisp suit, mirrored sunglasses, envelope in hand. Inside, copies of the drone footage, the bank records, and a friendly letter to her employer explaining the details of her extracurricular activities and the financial fraud tied to our joint accounts. Insurance companies don't like liars. They especially don't like employees who steal. By noon, her work badge was deactivated. By 1, she was escorted out of the building, her belongings packed into a sad little cardboard box. A friend of mine, Mason, happened to be sitting in the parking lot when it happened. He filmed it for me. The look on her face, the shock, the panic, was better than any revenge fantasy I ever played out in my head. It wasn't rage that twisted her features. It was fear. Real, bone-deep fear. And that was just the first punch. The second came for Brandon. Thanks to the anonymous package sent to his parole officer, Brandon got a nice little visit at work too. Turns out, hanging out with a woman who was committing financial fraud while on probation wasn't exactly a smart career move. By dinner, he was in handcuffs. Violation of parole. Possible new charges pending. Nothing guaranteed prison faster than being a repeat offender, especially one dumb enough to leave a digital trail a mile wide. I didn't celebrate. Not yet. This wasn't about winning. It was about delivering justice to the people who thought loyalty was a joke. But the real blow? That came later. I waited until the evening. Waited until I knew Hannah would be desperate, alone, frantic. Then I dropped the bomb. The divorce papers. Hand-delivered by a server, right to the front porch of the house she used to call ours. Along with them, an eviction notice. The house wasn't in both our names, it was in mine. Paid for with my military benefits, my blood, my sacrifice. She had no legal claim. No leverage. Nothing. The server said she opened the door wearing nothing but that same damn silk robe. Makeup smeared. Hair a mess. Mascara tracking down her cheeks. He said she tried to slam the door in his face. Too late. He just dropped the papers at her feet, tipped his hat, and walked away. I watched it happen from a block away, engine idling, windows down. Not hiding. Not running. Just watching. She stood there in the doorway, clutching the envelope like it was a live grenade. And for the first time, she looked small. Not the cold, powerful woman who tossed me aside like yesterday's trash. Not the cocky queen who laughed when I stood broken in my own home. Just another liar, caught in her own web. I should have felt satisfied. I should have felt vindicated. But all I felt was tired. Empty. Betrayal doesn't just steal your love. It steals the part of you that believed in people. It rots something in your chest, something you don't even realize you're gonna miss until it's too damn late. Still, I wasn't finished yet. Not by a long shot. There was one more thing left to do. One final cut to make sure Hannah never forgot who she threw away. And it was coming faster than she could ever imagine. 2 nights later, I got the text. It was short. Pathetic, really. Hannah, please, just meet me. One last time. At first, I almost deleted it. Almost let her drown alone in the mess she made. But something inside me, maybe curiosity, maybe the need for one final look at the wreckage, made me answer. Me. 1 hour. Front porch. No promises. No hope. Just cold, clinical arrangements, like setting up a funeral. I pulled up to the house right on time. My house. Still technically mine for another 2 weeks before the paperwork went through. She was sitting on the steps, wrapped in a hoodie 3 sizes too big, hair knotted on top of her head. No makeup. No fake smile. Just Hannah. Raw. Exposed. For a moment, neither of us said anything. The night air was thick, heavy with everything we'd never be able to fix. Finally, she stood up, arms wrapped around herself like she was freezing. She looked smaller, younger, lost. Jake, she started, voice trembling. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I stared at her hollow, silent. I was lonely, she said, stepping closer. You were gone for so long. I didn't know how to handle it. I made mistakes, but we can fix it. I laughed then, a short, bitter sound that made her flinch. Fix it, I said. You think you can undash ***** someone, Hannah? You think you can erase the lies, the theft, the betrayal? Her face crumpled, tears sliding down her cheeks. I didn't know what else to do. You came back and you were different. I took a slow step forward, letting her feel the weight of my words. I was different because I fought every day to survive, I said, voice low and sharp. I was different because I believed I was fighting for a future, for us. And while I was bleeding in the sand, you were playing house with the first loser who told you you looked pretty. She sobbed openly now, shaking like a leaf in the wind. Pathetic. I love you, she gasped. I never stopped loving you. I almost believed her. Almost let the old memories fool me into thinking there was something still worth saving. But then I remembered the look on her face that day, standing behind Brandon, smug and heartless, announcing he was the boss now. I remembered the months she spent laughing in my home, sharing my bed with a stranger, while I lay in a hospital half a world away. Love? No, this wasn't love. This was guilt. Desperation. Fear of being left with nothing after she bet it all and lost. I shook my head slowly. You don't get to love me now, Hannah, I said, voice steady. You don't get to crawl back when your shiny new life blows up in your face. She reached out, like touching me might somehow erase what she'd done. I stepped back. No, I said sharply. This is over. She collapsed onto the steps, head in her hands, broken sobs tearing from her throat. And for the first time in months, I felt light. Free. She wasn't my burden anymore. Wasn't my responsibility. She was just a stranger wearing the skin of someone I used to love. I turned without another word and walked away, the night swallowing the sound of her cries. No regrets. No second thoughts. Only the cold, clean truth. Some betrayals are too deep to forgive. Some wounds aren't meant to heal. And I was finally ready to start living again. Without her, I didn't look back. Not once. Not even when I heard her call my name, voice cracking under the weight of her own mistakes. The streetlights stretched long across the empty road as I walked toward my truck, each step feeling lighter, more certain. Like with every footfall, I was shedding the lies, the betrayals, the heartaches she left rotting in my chest. When I slid into the driver's seat, I didn't slam the door. I didn't curse. I didn't break down. I just sat there for a moment, letting the silence settle around me like a second skin. It wasn't the same silence that haunted me after the war. No, this one was different. This one was peace. This one was freedom. I drove aimlessly that night, letting the miles fall away, windows down, the cool wind rushing in, washing the stench of the past off my skin. Somewhere along the empty highways, under the endless Texas sky, it finally hit me. I wasn't broken. I wasn't defeated. I was reborn. Hannah's betrayal didn't define me. It revealed her weakness, her selfishness, her inability to understand what it meant to truly love someone. She threw away a man who would have bled for her, and in return, she ended up alone, clutching her regrets like ashes slipping through her fingers. Good. Let her choke on them. As for me, I had a future to rebuild. It wouldn't be easy. The scars were still there, invisible ones etched deep into my heart. But scars are just proof that you survived, that you fought back. In the days that followed, I finalized the divorce. I made sure she got nothing more than the memories she created. The house was mine. The money was mine. The clean slate was mine. I moved into a small apartment overlooking a quiet stretch of river. Nothing fancy, just peace. Real, hard-earned peace. Some nights, I sat on the balcony with a beer in hand, staring out at the water and letting the past drift away with the current. I thought about the man I used to be, the one who believed love could survive anything. And I mourned him, briefly. But then I raised a silent toast to the man I became, the one who knew better now, the one who understood that loyalty isn't owed to everyone who asks for it. It's earned, deserved. Hannah never deserved it. She just fooled me into thinking she did. If there's anything I could tell someone standing where I once stood, broken, betrayed, furious, it's this. Don't stay loyal to someone who wouldn't even blink while they destroy you. Don't fight for a love that already surrendered to selfishness. Don't waste your time trying to fix what someone else smashed willingly. Walk away, even if it feels like you're leaving your whole world behind. Because sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself again. And trust me, the man or woman you rebuild from the ashes, they're stronger, wiser, deadlier, unbreakable. As for Hannah and Brandon, last I heard, she tried crawling back to her parents. Brandon ended up doing a short stint in county jail for parole violation. Fitting. They built a kingdom on lies, and it collapsed just like it deserved to. And me? I'm still standing, still breathing, still moving forward. Because in the end, betrayal didn't kill me. It liberated me. And some days, when the wind is just right, I can almost hear the faint echoes of the past. I smile, tip my hat to the man I used to be, and keep walking, free, fearless, and finally alive.